Okay, let's do this. Welcome to my channel. My name is Pedro Porto, and I have been working in HR for the past 10 years. Inspired by some colleagues and also several conversations throughout these years, I'm creating this channel for it to be a bridge between those that are interested in HR and those that are working in HR. So here it is an evolving experience. I will be talking about HR, leadership, business, and then whatever might come along the way. And I really hope that you can join me on this journey. So first, let's talk about what is HR in the first place, right? Well, HR as a term, or human resources, really started gathering a lot of momentum in the 70s in the American business schools. However, as we will figure out along the way, a lot of the problems that HR deals are problems that are as old as the first organization that has ever existed. There are many ways to understand HR. The most basic one, and very popular because of it, is the concept of the employee life cycle. An employee will have a series of steps that will go through a couple of different knowledge areas that are repeated across organizations. It's a never-ending cycle, like the circle of life in Lion King. Well, and then I'm sure you're asking then, what are these steps? Well, they are divided and understood in 5 different knowledge areas, with a 6th one that I'll talk a bit more later. So these 5 knowledge areas are attraction, onboarding, operations, talent development, and offboarding. Let's start with the first one, attraction. Attraction, recruitment, selection. There are a lot of different terms to understand this knowledge area, but basically it means bringing people into the organization. You need to attract them. You need to make them have interest in joining your team, to join your idea, your mission, what you want to accomplish in the world. You also need to select the right person, so they are a good match to what you are trying to achieve today, but also what you're trying to achieve in the future. This knowledge area touch points with other parts of the organization, as communication, marketing, legal. Yes, that's very important. In some parts of the world, legal, it is brought in from the beginning on a recruitment process. So after you have recruited a person, you have the second phase of the employee life cycle, which is onboarding. So in this step, you will be creating the person inside the organization. And that is very, very important. You need to create the person inside the system. You need to enable them by having the right equipment to do their job. Most often it is a computer for us working in the office, but it could also be other things. For example, a PPE. What is a PPE, you ask me? Well, I'm glad you asked. Or maybe you didn't. I'm going to answer anyway. So PPE is personal protection equipment. Things like helmets, vests, boots, gloves. Some professionals require it before they can even set foot in their workplace. Another part of the onboarding is any mandatory trainings that you might have. Those are the trainings that everyone needs to possess before they start their work. While for now office personnel, it's hard to grasp what would be a mandatory training, for people working, for example, in the service industry, dealing with food, there are some basic hygiene courses that they must possess before they step inside the kitchen in the first place. So you have attracted the person, you have onboarded the person. Now let's go to the third aspect of the employee life cycle, that is operations. Operations is a series of processes and actions that don't have an end. They will continue to running, hopefully smoothly, that will be the ideal, and that those will continue to enable the people inside your organization. So the first and most important part of operations is payroll. Why? Because people like to be paid on time and correctly. That's the basic, right? About what HR delivers to the employee. You need to have that in place. But inside it, operations, you will also find the role, for example, of the HR business partner. Those are your colleagues that are in constant touch with yourselves, with the team leaders, to help with the people challenges that rise inside any organization. Inside operations, sometimes you will also find the performance management. There are the constant conversations about how everyone is performing inside the company. Which leads me to the fourth knowledge area, which is talent development. So in this phase, you will be figuring out who are your top employees, the people that really contribute to the success of what you're trying to achieve. You also figure out who needs to be developed, who can go for an additional training, who has the potential to be a leader, and also those that they're not performing so well, that there is a little bit of a mismatch. Which leads me to the fifth phase of the employee life cycle, which is the offboarding. It is saying goodbye, farewell, so long, adeus, au revoir, guten Tag, no, never mind, sayonara, I always like that, to some of the people working with you. And then it happens. Normally, this is the knowledge area that people don't like talking about because it's very hard, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. Think about it just about a mismatch between the employee and the organization. Well, now that we have completed the employee life cycle with attraction, let's do it again. Attraction, onboarding, operations, talent management, and offboarding. Let's talk about the sixth one, the sixth phase of the employee life cycle. This is a special phase. It would be what I would call strategic HR. And why this is a special phase? Because it incorporates elements of all the other phases. It would not be necessarily inside any one of them, but instead go through several of them to deliver on strategic goals for the organization. One example of a strategic HR initiative, it is workforce planning. It is figuring out how many people you need for your work in the future. That goes through attraction, because you need to attract those people. It has onboarding, because you need to figure out what is the minimum time that the people need to be hired and be fully ready to work. It has operations, because you need to figure out who is doing what and what is the best way each one can perform every day. You have talent management, because you also need to acknowledge that some people will rise. And then there is also offboarding, because you also need to acknowledge that some people will leave. And that's part of the business. But there's a lot to talk about on this last one. Actually, there is a lot to talk about all phases, and I'm looking forward to it. So this will be the first video. I hope that you can participate with me in this journey. So I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, like, leave a comment, send me an email. Let's figure it out how we can make this work. Until then, thank you for watching. See you next time. Pedro out.